blessing from hearing his lectures and sermons, and it's just been a real blessing. So why don't you help me welcome David Tennell.
Well, it's good to be here, and Marcia, you do an awesome cooking school. I love your sense of humor. I love your sense of humor. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised in the state of Minnesota. My dad came from the country of Norway when he was 23 years of age, and my mother was born to a gentleman by the name of Norell, and my grandmother's name was Leon. And his grandparents came from Sweden, so I have a lot of Scandinavian blood in me. And if you know what that means, Scandinavians have a sweet tooth. And so growing up in Minnesota, my grandmother also had a sweet tooth. And my dad had the biggest painting business in the state of Minnesota. He had 90 employers working for him. It was called Tennell Painting and Decorating. And so I got pawned off many times by my mother, and she would send me to my grandmother's house, which was about 5 miles away from our house. And I remember my brother and I, when we would walk into our grandmother's house, the first thing we did, it wasn't say hi to her, it was we ran to the pantry. And we opened up the pantry door, and we looked for those Snickers bars or the Milky Ways, all the sweets and treats. So I grew up being a very, very picky eater. Well, at the age of 12, my mother and father and my brother and I, we took a trip to California. And as we were traveling, we had a wonderful time stopping here and there, looking at this and that. But when we finally got to California, we stayed with a gentleman by the name of Arnold Lund. And he was from the country of Norway too. So he had a thick accent like my dad. And living right next door to him was a doctor by the name of Dr. Hoffman. And he was a vegetarian. He was into health reform. And so I remember after visiting with him, he told us about the benefits of a vegetarian diet. So when we got home, guess what? We changed our diet. And I gave up going to Mr. Steak and having that well-done steak and all that. But I've always been interested in health, and I believe it's because my mother was interested in health. And so then I married my wife, and she was on a plant-based diet, and she told me the benefits of being on a plant-based diet. And I decided that I wanted to learn more about preventive medicine. So there was a lifestyle center in Steele, Alabama called UG Pines. And there were 2 physicians there, Dr. Agatha and Calvin Thrash. And I was pursuing a medical career, and God would change the course of the direction of my life. Instead of pursuing a medical career, I then started pursuing guess what? A career in ministry. I didn't like the body fluids and all that. And, you know, we had to give shots to each other and do blood draws. And when I saw body fluids and blood, I was ready to pass out. So God then directed the direction of my life into ministry. But I believe that combining health ministry with pastoral ministry is the most important ministry that you can be involved in, because Jesus spent the majority of his time ministering to the sick, didn't he? And so I, as a minister, and I'm thankful that Dave, too, is interested in the health and well-being of his congregation. That's why he has the cooking schools and the different health lectures, because I think there's a close connection between the mind and body. Now, having said that, I still have a sweet tooth. I do, but now I'm learning to be more temperate. And do you know what my favorite sugary food is? Turtles. Not those reptiles that swim in ponds with 4 legs and a tail. Oh, man. How many of you like turtles? Come on. Aren't they, like, deadly delicious? Well, I don't eat quite as many of them. In fact, I probably eat it maybe twice a year when the temptation overwhelms me and I'm driving in my car and I hear this little voice in my head, stop at the dollar store and get some turtles. Have you ever done that? Yeah. Now I'm denied that little voice a little more. But we're going to talk about sugar, the truth about sugar. And so what is refined sugar? Is it something that you should put in your body? Well, sugar is a pure acid. Now, is that good or bad?
Bad.
Bad. Do you know your blood pH is 7.35 to 7.45? So on the pH scale going from 1 to 14, 7 being neutral, your body needs to be alkaline. When it becomes acidic, guess what happens? Cancer can come in and spread throughout your entire body. So sugar is a pure acid, and it is extremely toxic to the health of the body. Now, how many of you would jump in your car every day and drive down to the local trash dump? How many of you would do that? And wait in the trash and collect the most stinky garbage there and put it in your car, drive back to your house, and empty it out in your living room, your bedroom, your kitchen, and your bathroom. How many of you would do that every day? Why not?
Nasty.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, gross.
It would stink, it would be gross, and then you would breed disease and sickness among your family members. And yet many of us dump sugar into our body every day, don't we? Now listen to what John Youngkin in his book said about sugar. If only a small fraction of what is already known about the effects of sugar were to be revealed in relation to any other material used as a food additive, that material would promptly be, what's the next word?
Banned.
Banned. So how much sugar does the average American consume every year? Do you know it's 133 pounds? That's about 3/4 of a cup every day. Isn't that a lot of sugar? That's a lot of sugar. Now, most of the sugar we consume is hidden in the foods that you and I purchase at the grocery store, like soft drinks. Americans average about 50 gallons of soft drinks per person per year. Now, I'm not much into drinking soda pops. Anyone here? No, I'm not. But that's the average American. Now, 1 can of soda pop contains how many teaspoons of sugar? 12 teaspoons of sugar. And we wonder why our kids are battling ADHD and ADD. Now, what about desserts? A piece of chocolate cake contains 15 teaspoons of sugar. And what about frozen yogurt? That's 12 teaspoons of sugar. And I remember as a kid going to my grandmother's house, she would have Fruit Loops. And Fruit Loops and Sugar Smacks have over 50% of their calories coming from, guess what? Sugar. And there are hidden sugars in canned soups and TV dinners. Some brands of peanut butter are also loaded down with sugar. Now, if you were to go to the grocery store and look at the various items that you were buying, you need to look at the ingredients list because sugar comes under different names like sucrose, dextrose, lactose, fructose, maltose, corn syrup, honey, and molasses, right? So what is the downfall of consuming too much sugar? Well, refined sugar will enter your bloodstream, and as a result, what happens to the blood sugar? It goes way up. You get a quick energy boost. And that sugar high is only temporary, but it increases a surge of insulin. And the insulin then goes into the bloodstream and it lowers the blood sugar, and as a result, what happens to your energy? It crashes, it goes way down. Now, a falling blood sugar often mimics symptoms of hypoglycemia. And that produces feelings of weakness, hunger, fatigue, and letdown. And you and I know that maybe one of the primary causes of diabetes is eating too much what? Sugar. Now, you and I have a pancreas, and the pancreas is located in the abdominal region of our body. And the pancreas has what you call beta cells, and the beta cells produces a hormone called insulin. And that insulin enables the, I don't know, is this, you don't have a marker here?
It's up the top of the.
Oh, up there. Okay. So, your body is filled with trillions of cells, and on the cytoplasmic membrane of your cells, you have these things called glycoprotein doors. What are they called? Glycoprotein doors. Now, glucose or blood sugar is C6H12O6. And that sugar wants to get into the cell. And why does it want it to get into the cell? Because you have like a little city in there. You have the mitochondria, you have the Golgi apparatus, the endoplasmic reticulum. You have all these miniature organelles. And they need energy to do their proper function within the cell. So the insulin that's produced, by the pancreas goes into the bloodstream. It's like a key, and it unlocks the door to these glycoprotein doors. It unlocks that door so that the sugar molecule can get where? Inside the cell. That's a good thing, except if you have too much sugar. Now let me go forward. Diabetes affects just about every organ system in your body. Your cardiovascular system, your skeletal system, your digestive system, your nervous system, and what else? Your respiratory system. So let's briefly talk about diabetes. Diabetics are much more likely to experience serious kidney disease. As many as 40% will eventually experience kidney failure. Now, your kidneys are made up of filtration units called nephrons, and they have tubules called the efferent and afferent tubules of the glomerulus. And so when you have diabetes, it begins to destroy these little tubes in your kidneys, and that's not a good thing. Diabetics increase their risk of having a heart attack or what's the next word? A stroke. It also is a main contributor in clogging up your arteries. Now, 16 million Americans are diabetic. Do we have anyone with diabetes here this afternoon?
You're talking just type 2, is that right?
Yeah.
Type 2.
Yeah. And 625,000 new cases will be diagnosed this year and every year. That's a lot, isn't it? 6% of diabetics are between the age of 45 and 64 years of age, and 20% of diabetics are over 65 years old. And guess what it costs annually, just in the United States of America? $130 billion every year. $130 billion. Now, here are some complications that result from diabetes. Number one, your life expectancy will be shortened by 5 to 10 years or even more than that. That's not a good thing. Number two, it contributes to 160,000 deaths every year. Number three, it increases your chance of having a heart attack or a stroke. Number four. Number five, it is the number one cause of blindness in our nation. Anywhere between 12 to 24,000 new cases are diagnosed annually. 60,000 diabetics have either their foot or leg amputated every year. And it also contributes to peripheral neuropathy. And if you're a woman, you will increase your chance of breast or uterine cancer. So what kind of problems does a high sugar intake lead to? We're going to look at some other things besides diabetes. Well, weight gain. And I know if you have weight gain, that makes a list of other complications, health problems too. Well, there was an animal study that showed that excess fructose consumption may cause resistance to leptin. Now, what is leptin? Leptin is a hormone that regulates hunger and tells your body to stop eating. Number two, it can increase your risk of heart disease. Over the course of a 15-year study on added sugar and heart disease, participants who took in 25% or more of their daily calories as sugar were more than twice as likely to die from what? Heart disease, as those whose diet included less than 10% added sugar. Overall, the odds of dying from heart disease rose at random with the percentage of sugar in the diet. And that was true regardless of a person's age, sex, physical activity, or mass index. Okay? So evidence suggests that high sugar diets can lead to obesity and inflammation, as well as high triglycerides, blood sugar, and blood pressure levels, all of which are risk factors for, guess what? Heart disease. Heart disease. And it has been consumed, or it has been linked to acne. And how does that happen? Well, consuming sugar foods can cause a spike in the blood sugar and insulin levels, leading to increased androgen secretion, oil production. And by the way, you have oil glands all over your body. They're called sebaceous glands, and they produce an oil called sebum. So the androgen, it increases the androgen, and what else? Oil production, the sebum, and inflammation, of which play a role in acne development. So if you're a young teenager, one of the best things you can do, or two of the best things you can do, or three, stay away from peanut butter, stay away from chocolate, and stay away from, guess what? Sugar. And what do young people crave at that age? Chocolate and sugar. Okay, number 4. It increases your risk of type 2 diabetes. Eating large amounts of sugar can indirectly raise diabetic risk by contributing to weight gain and increase your body fat, both of which are risks for developing what? Diabetes. And what about cancer? Yes, diets high in sugar increase inflammation in your body and may cause insulin resistance, both of which increase cancer risk. Now, a friend of mine, Dr. David DeRose from Indiana, he's a medical doctor and a minister of the gospel. I was sitting down with him one day at a restaurant, and his wife is a medical doctor too. And he was talking about sugar and how damaging sugar can be during the flu season. Do you know that one macrophage, macro means big, phage means to eat, it's a white blood cell in your body, one macrophage can consume 20 bacteria in 1 hour. So one white blood cell called a what? Macrophage can consume how many bacteria in an hour? 20. But if you were to sit down and drink a can of soda pop, which has 12, teaspoons of sugar, it would wipe out the ability of that macrophage to consume the bacterium in your body. So if you drank 1 can of soda pop, that macrophage then would only be able to engulf and destroy 1 bacterium in 1 hour. So you can see how it wipes out the immune system, can't you? Just 1 can of soda pop. So Barbara O'Neill was just at our church, and if you're battling cancer, you want to stop the consumption of all sugar in your diet, all sugar immediately, because that is the fuel that feeds the cancer. It's a fuel for the cancer, and it wipes out your immune system.
What about the diet sodas?
The diet sodas, they have, they're not good.
A lot of other things.
Because of the artificial sweetener. I have a good friend, Martin Klein, who works at Kleindyke Health Lifestyle Center. He and his wife run it. He's a nurse, and his wife is a nurse practitioner. And he was doing some lectures for me in Colorado, and those artificial sweeteners now have been linked to dementia.
How about stevia?
What's that?
Stevia.
Stevia is good. Yeah, that's probably the best sweetener is stevia. But all these artificial sweeteners are detrimental to your mental health. Yes?
What about honey and maple syrup as sweeteners? Are those okay or no?
Yeah, they're not bad. Everything in temperance, but it does increase your blood sugar levels. But the thing about molasses and honey and things like that, they have minerals in it where just regular sugar is just, it's a pure acid. A pure acid, yep. Now, a study of over 22,000 men spanning 9 years, over 9 years, found that increased sugar consumption from sugar-sweetened beverages was associated with a greater risk of what? Prostate cancer. Prostate cancer. By the way, if you're a man, and every man will get prostate cancer. It's not a matter of if, but when. But if you want to prevent your husband or yourself, if you're a man, from getting prostate cancer, cut back on the sugar and start drinking tomato juice in the morning and in the evening, because tomato juice has lycopene, and lycopene is excellent for the health of the prostate. So my PSA score was slowly creeping up towards the 4-point range. 0 to 4 is the normal range. And so I'm drinking tomato juice and cutting back on sugar.
Is eating pizza with, pizza sauce.
Pizza. I wish. Okay, so then another study found that esophageal cancer was associated with increased consumption of sucrose or table sugar and sweetened desserts and beverages. Okay, so here are 8 other cancers linked to sugar consumption. Colon cancer. By the way, colon cancer is the number 2 killer cancer among men and women in the United States of America. The number 2 killer cancer. And I think it's because we don't get enough dietary fiber. So if you were to trace the food through your GI tract, you put it in your mouth, it goes into your esophagus, down your stomach to your duodenum, jejunum, ileum, then it goes to the cecum, up the ascending colon, and connecting the ascending colon to the transverse colon is what you call the hepatic flexure. The what?
Hepatic flexure.
It means pertaining to hepat, liver, the hepatic flexure. Now, the typical American diet is low in dietary fiber, and because of that, as the food is going up the ascending colon, it gets lodged in the hepatic flexure. So that's why you and I need to make sure that we eat a lot of dietary fiber, because the dietary fiber tickles the inside of your GI tract called the mucosa, and it causes a wave-like contraction called peristalsis. So it moves it quickly through the GI tract. But on the typical American diet that's high in saturated fat, right, meats and just greasy food, the transit time that it takes the food from going from your oral cavity out your anal canal is 76 hours. But if you're on a plant-based diet, it only takes 12 to 16 hours for the food to go through your GI tract. So if you want to decrease your chance of colon cancer, start increasing your intake of what? Dietary fiber. Does that make sense? So colon cancer, rectal cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, cancers of the nervous system. That was Dr. Neil Medley. He wrote that in his book called Proof Positive, page 185. It also increases your risk of battling depression. A study following 8,000 people showed that men who consumed 67 grams or more of sugar per day were 23% more likely to develop, guess what? Depression than men who ate less than 40 grams per day. So if you're married, if your husband looks depressed, cut back on the sugar, right? Okay. Another study in over 69,000 women demonstrated that those with the highest intakes of added sugar had a significantly greater risk of, guess what? Depression compared to those with the lowest intakes. And how many of you ladies want to age? Is that your goal in life? Like, give me this food because I know it's going to add wrinkles to my face? No. So, advanced glycation end products called AGEs are compounds formed by reactions between sugar and protein in your body. They are suspected to play a key role in skin aging. Consuming a diet that's high in refined carbs and sugar leads to the production of AGEs, which may cause your skin to age prematurely. AGEs damages collagen and elastin, which are proteins that help the skin stretch and keep its youthful appearance. When collagen and elastin become damaged, the skin loses its what? Firmness and begins to sag. If only I knew that 15 years ago or something. Now, this is something sober right here. The telomeres, so you have what you call chromosomes, and you have a centromere that holds the chromatin together. Those are the legs on your chromosomes. And at the end, you have what you call telomeres. Now, telomeres are structures found at the end of your what? Chromosomes, which are molecules that hold part for all your genetic information. Telomeres act as protective caps, preventing chromosomes from doing what? Deteriorating or fusing together. As you grow older, telomeres naturally shorten, which causes cells to age and what was the last word?
Malfunction.
Yes. Although the shortening of telomeres is a natural part of aging, certain lifestyle choices can speed up the process. Consuming high amounts of sugar has been shown to accelerate telomere shortening, which increases cellular aging. A pilot study of 61 preschool-aged children found that increased consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages was associated with decreased telomere length, signifying what? Yeah. So if you want to age more quickly and you want to shorten your life, eat a lot of sugar, because that shortens the telomeres at the end of your chromosomes. So if you could look at your chromosome, you could basically tell if you're going to live an extra 20, 30 years or 10 to 15 years. But you can shorten the decrease of the telomeres by choosing positive lifestyle habits. Isn't that good news to know? You can do that. Drains your energy. It can lead to fatty liver, not a good thing. Increased kidney disease, irritability. So I'm going to call it quits there. I've taken enough time. But God loves you, and He wants you to prosper, and the Bible says He wants you to be in health. Amen. And it's a journey. Life is a journey, right? I'm not where I want to be, but praise God, I'm not where I used to be. Yeah.
Amen.